Becoming a millionaire is not a dream. It's a formula. Those who followed it got rich. Are you still waiting? This is not just another motivational video. This is a financial awakening, built on 20 years of research by Napoleon Hill. Over 500 millionaires were interviewed. Their secret? The 13 principles. Ford, Edison, Carnegie, Rockefeller. They all said the same thing: these principles work. Every time. But here's the truth: most people just read them. Only a few live them. So let me ask you, which one are you? If you truly grasp what you're about to hear and act on it today, this video might be the moment your life finally changes. Watch it till the end. Every principle is a step toward wealth. Skip one and the chain breaks. You return to zero. Decision: you will never be successful if you do not develop the habit of making clear and firm decisions. Wealth is not the result of chances. It is the result of decisions. Every great success starts with a single moment of clarity when someone says, "I will do it." The greatest divide in this world, between the rich and the poor, the free and the trapped, the joyful and the miserable, comes down to decision-making. Most people don't make decisions. They say things like, "I'll think about it, maybe later, if I get the chance." But those phrases are just quiet ways to kill dreams. Successful people don't hope, they decide. They don't look for excuses, they create paths. Even when it's hard, they choose to act. A decision is the birth of a new life. That decision keeps you awake at night. It drives your actions. It becomes the moment everything changes. Napoleon Hill didn't write Think and Grow Rich just to inspire. He wrote it to deliver one undeniable truth. Before wealth, success, or freedom exists in your life, it must first exist as a decision inside you. Elon Musk, the no-way-back decision in 2008, Tesla was collapsing. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches. The world called Elon Musk crazy, reckless, doomed. Investors ran. The media mocked. Friends said, "Give up. You've gone too far." But Musk didn't stop. He said, "I've made a decision. Even if I lose every dollar I have, I will keep going." And he did. He poured his last cent into both Tesla and SpaceX. The 4th rocket flew. Tesla found funding. Today he's one of the wealthiest men in history, not because of luck, but because of one unbreakable decision. Belief: nothing works without it. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The starting point of all achievement is not effort, it is belief. If you don't believe it's possible, your mind won't allow you to act like it is. And without action, there is no progress, no wealth, no transformation. Belief is the oxygen of your dream. Without it, your ideas suffocate. Your goals remain locked behind the invisible wall of self-doubt. Many people have talent. Many even work hard. But very few truly believe they deserve success. And that belief, or its absence, becomes the dividing line between those who try and those who transform. Your subconscious mind is always listening. If it hears doubt, it builds resistance. If it hears faith, it creates pathways. That's why Napoleon Hill emphasized this as a law, not advice. He didn't say, "You might achieve it." He said, "If you can imagine it and believe it, the universe will align to help you achieve it." But belief is not just blind faith. It's a decision to trust in yourself before the world gives you permission to. J.K. Rowling, from rejection to revolution. Before Harry Potter changed the world, J.K. Rowling was a broke single mother on welfare. She wrote the first book in cafes while her baby slept beside her. She believed in her story deeply. But 12 publishers rejected her. Each letter said, "This will never sell. This is not good enough. This story has no future." Most people would give up. But Rowling said, "I just couldn't stop. I knew Harry's world was real. I believed it completely." Finally, a small publisher said yes. That belief, that refusal to quit, led to one of the most successful book series in human history. Today, J.K. Rowling is worth over $1 billion. Not because she was lucky, but because she believed even when nobody else did. Desire, the birthplace of every fortune. Napoleon Hill's quote: "The starting point of all achievement is desire." Success does not begin with a plan, a job, or even knowledge. It begins with burning desire. A desire so deep, so constant, that it consumes your doubts and turns ordinary men into legends. Without desire, talent sleeps. Without desire, plans fade. But with it, even the impossible begins to crack. Desire is not a wish. It is not wanting to be rich or hoping for success. Desire is obsession, an inner fire that refuses to be ignored. Desire wakes you at 4 a.m., keeps you working at midnight, pushes you to learn what others avoid, to endure what others escape. Hill wrote about desire not as a feeling but as a discipline of hunger. Weak desire brings weak results, just as a small fire makes a small amount of heat. If your desire is casual, your results will be forgettable. But if your desire is raging, the world must notice. Because no gate, no rejection, no delay, can stop a man or woman whose soul is on fire. Desire is how you tell the universe that you are serious. Steve Jobs. Desire with a vengeance. Steve Jobs didn't just want to build computers. He wanted to rebuild reality. In his garage, broke and dismissed, he told his team, "We're going to put a dent in the universe." No money. No fancy titles. Just desire, pure, stubborn, and untamed. When Apple fired him, he didn't disappear. He doubled down. Started next. Bought Pixar. Returned to Apple. Changed the world. Jobs once said, "People with passion can change the world for the better." But it wasn't just passion. It was desire, the kind that doesn't ask permission, the kind that bends the future. Faith, the mind's invisible architect. Napoleon Hill's quote, "Faith is the eternal elixir, which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought." Faith is not just believing in God or destiny, it's believing in yourself, your vision, and the unseen forces that align when you act with conviction. Faith is the bridge between the idea in your mind and the reality in your hands. Without it, even brilliant thoughts die in silence. Have you ever felt something was possible even when the world laughed? That's not delusion, that's faith speaking through your soul. Faith is the power that overrides logic. It silences fear. It replaces what if with what now. Without faith, desire turns into anxiety. Without faith, decisions become hesitations. But with it, you gain clarity in chaos, courage in failure, and momentum even in silence. Napoleon Hill teaches that faith is not a gift, it's a muscle. You build it by speaking with certainty, visualizing with intensity, and surrounding yourself with belief, not doubt. Because faith activates your subconscious. And your subconscious is the real builder of your destiny. Oprah Winfrey. Faith beyond her circumstances. Oprah Winfrey was born into poverty in rural Mississippi. Abused. Undervalued. She was told she'd never be more than a maid. But she had faith, not in her situation, but in her spirit. She spoke her dreams aloud, envisioned herself on television, even when she had no camera, no connections, no credentials. When she got fired from her first TV job, they said she was unfit for TV. But she didn't shrink. She believed even harder. Oprah once said, "You become what you believe." Today she's not just a billionaire, she's a symbol of what faith can manifest when the world says no, and you say yes. Persistence, the difference between dreamers and millionaires. Napoleon Hill's quote, "Persistence is to the character of man as carbon is to steel." Persistence is not about doing more, it's about never stopping when things get hard. Every success story you admire is built on moments when quitting would have been easier, but they didn't. Dreamers quit. Millionaires persist. The world is full of talented people. Who gave up too soon. People with great ideas. Who stopped one step before success. Persistence is the ability to continue when the energy is gone, when no one is clapping, when the money runs out, when your friends leave, and your only fuel is your why. Napoleon Hill knew this deeply. He interviewed 500 of the most successful people of his time, and one trait kept showing up. They were relentless. The most common cause of failure, he said, is quitting when temporary defeat sets in. Temporary defeat is not the end, it's the test. And those who pass that test become legends. Colonel Sanders, the man who refused to quit at 65. At age 65, Colonel Harlan Sanders had just $105 in his pocket. He had a chicken recipe. And a dream. He went door to door, restaurant to restaurant, trying to convince them to use his chicken. He was rejected 1,009 times. Let that number sink in. But he persisted. Finally, someone said yes. That yes became Kentucky Fried Chicken, a global empire. Today, KFC has over 25,000 restaurants worldwide. All because one man refused to believe his age or his failures defined him. Specialized knowledge, the power that pays. Napoleon Hill's quote, "General knowledge, no matter how vast, will not produce riches. The riches come from applying specialized knowledge." You don't need to know everything, you need to master one thing. Most people gather information endlessly, believing knowledge itself brings success. But Hill makes it clear, only applied, focused knowledge builds wealth. Specialized knowledge is what gives you leverage, the ability to solve a specific problem for people. And get paid like no one else can. Think about it. Doctors don't earn more because they know more, they earn more because they know one thing very deeply. Heart surgeons don't Google during operations. They don't guess. They own their knowledge. The world doesn't reward dabblers. It rewards masters. And to become a master, you must stop being a collector of facts and start being a creator of results. Your success will not come from how much you read, but how much you apply what you've learned. Napoleon Hill didn't say, learn everything. He said, organize, specialize, and direct knowledge to a definite end. When you become known for something specific, opportunity finds you. Sarah Blakely, from fax machine sales to billionaire, Sarah Blakely sold fax machines door to door. She had no fashion degree, no investors. But she had an idea, women's shapewear that was actually comfortable. She didn't take a random course on fashion design. She studied the industry. She learned fabric types. She taught herself how hosiery was made. She became an expert in one tiny, overlooked niche. With $5,000 in savings, she created the first prototype of Spanx. No one believed in her except herself. And her specialized knowledge in that narrow area gave her an unfair advantage. Today, Sarah Blakely is one of the youngest self-made female billionaires in history. Not because she knew everything, but because she went deep on one thing that solved a real problem. Decision, the power to shape destiny. Napoleon Hill's quote, "The man who cannot make up his mind cannot make use of any other trait he possesses." Indecision is the silent killer of dreams. Every time you hesitate, the world moves past you. Successful people decide quickly and change their minds slowly. Unsuccessful people decide slowly and change their minds often. Decisiveness is not arrogance, it's clarity with courage. A decision is not just a choice, it's a commitment. It's the point where thoughts become action. Most people wait for signs, for certainty, for approval. But the universe rewards the one who chooses boldly, even if they're scared, even if they're not ready. Indecision breeds procrastination. Procrastination breeds regret. And regret slowly kills potential. Hill teaches that the habit of indecision is learned, usually from parents, teachers, or friends who were afraid to act. But it can be unlearned by practicing daily, deliberate choices. Successful people have the habit of making decisions quickly and changing them, if at all, very slowly. The moment you decide, you take control back from fear. You bend reality to match your vision. Elon Musk, the man who bets on himself. When Elon Musk sold PayPal, he made a decision. Invest almost everything he had into 3 companies, Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity. Everyone told him it was crazy. Electric cars were dead. Private space travel was a fantasy. Solar? Too risky. But Musk didn't hesitate. He made his move. And nearly went bankrupt. At one point, both SpaceX and Tesla were days away from collapse. But he stuck with his decision. Today, those crazy bets are shaping the future of transportation, energy, and humanity. Elon once said, "I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. But that choice only works if you actually make it." Imagination, the workshop of the mind. Napoleon Hill's quote, "Imagination is the workshop where all plans are created." Everything that exists began as a thought in someone's imagination. Airplanes, smartphones, empires, fortunes. Imagination is not just for dreamers, it's the birthplace of wealth, because wealth begins with ideas, not money. There are 2 kinds of imagination. Synthetic imagination, rearranging existing ideas. Creative imagination, channeling new ideas from the subconscious or infinite intelligence. Millionaires master both. Imagination is the invisible power that makes the impossible possible. The average person sees what is. The wealthy person sees what could be. When you imagine vividly, you activate your subconscious mind. And when the subconscious is engaged, ideas begin to move toward form. Most people never use their imagination with purpose. They daydream, but they don't design. Napoleon Hill urges us to treat imagination as a mental factory, where ideas are the raw material and action is the machinery. Without imagination, desire has no direction. With imagination, desire becomes a vision, and vision attracts people, opportunities, and resources. Your financial future is limited not by your bank account, but by your imagination's capacity to build something valuable. Walt Disney, imagination in action. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking creativity. He was broke. He lived in a mouse-infested office and bathed at the train station. But he had something priceless: vision. He imagined characters, music, and entire worlds, before a single frame was drawn. He pitched Mickey Mouse to dozens of studios, all rejected him. People said no one would watch cartoons with a squeaky-voiced rodent. But Disney didn't see a mouse. He saw a movement. He once said, "If you can dream it, you can do it." Today that mouse is worth billions. Because Walt Disney used his imagination as a blueprint, and refused to stop building. Self-discipline, the master key to riches. Napoleon Hill's quote, "Self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. If you don't control what you think, you can't control what you do. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control luck. But you can always control yourself." Self-discipline is the bridge between desire and success. It's what allows you to keep going when comfort tempts, when fear whispers, when distractions multiply. Without discipline, goals remain fantasies. With discipline, fantasies become fortunes. Discipline isn't punishment. It's self-respect in action. Every time you say no to short-term pleasure for long-term gain, you're voting for your future self. Most people lose to their emotions. They binge when they're stressed. They quit when they're tired. They delay what matters for what's easy. Hill teaches that true wealth begins when you obey your own commands. You wake up when you said you would. You work when you promised yourself. You finish even when motivation is gone. Self-discipline turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. David Goggins. From broken to unbreakable. David Goggins grew up in an abusive home. He was depressed, overweight, and broke. He failed every goal he ever set. Until one day he looked in the mirror and said, "I will never lie to myself again." He began waking up at 4 a.m., running in the dark, studying with no excuses, facing every weakness. He trained his body, but more importantly, his mind. He became a Navy SEAL, then an ultramarathoner, then a world record holder for pull-ups. Today, Goggins is a global symbol of mental toughness. Not because he was gifted, but because he developed unbreakable discipline. The mastermind, the secret source of infinite power. Napoleon Hill's quote, "No mind is complete by itself. It needs contact with other minds to grow and expand." A mastermind is not just a group, it's a spiritual and mental alliance of minds aligned around a definite purpose. When two or more minds unite in harmony, a third, invisible force is created, a third mind, greater than the sum of the individuals. This collective intelligence gives access to ideas, solutions, and energy that no single person could ever produce alone. Most people try to do everything alone. They think independence is strength. But Hill teaches that intelligent cooperation is the real power. When you surround yourself with people who challenge, support, and inspire you, your mind starts working on a different level. You don't just borrow their thoughts, you multiply your own thinking through theirs. The right mastermind can collapse 10 years of struggle into 1 year of growth. That's why every successful person has mentors, partners, and peers. Not because they're weak, but because they're smart enough to seek collective wisdom. Hill called it the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony. The moment you align with the right minds, your results become exponential. Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. Masterminds in motion. Henry Ford wasn't a trained engineer. Thomas Edison had little formal education. But both were titans because of the power of their network. They dined together, exchanged ideas, pushed each other to dream bigger. Ford once said, "I am not the smartest, I just surround myself with smarter people." Through their mastermind alliance, Edison lit the world. Ford put it on wheels. Today, this same principle fuels Silicon Valley, creative studios, elite athletes, and the world's most powerful companies. Because behind every solo genius is a mastermind alliance that made it possible. The mystery of sex transmutation, turning desire into power. Napoleon Hill's quote, "Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, men develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times." Sex energy is not just for pleasure. It's the raw creative force that drives humanity. Hill argues that the most successful individuals in history learned to transmute this intense emotional energy into ambition, creativity, charisma, and genius-level focus. This doesn't mean suppression. It means sublimation, consciously directing the energy toward your life purpose. Every great invention, every empire, every movement began with emotional energy. Sexual energy is the purest fuel. Most people waste this energy on temporary gratification. But the few who redirect it achieve levels of greatness that seem almost supernatural. Sex transmutation is the art of turning passion into power. Think about it, when you're deeply attracted to someone, you become bold, creative, and energized. Now imagine channeling that drive into your work, your goals, your craft, every single day. Hill noticed that most successful men had one thing in common. They were highly sexual, but even more highly disciplined. They loved passionately but lived with purpose. They didn't let desire control them. They controlled the desire and made it serve them. This is not about celibacy. It's about control. It's about using the most powerful energy within you to build, lead, and create. Nikola Tesla. Pure energy, pure focus. Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest inventors in history, never married. He believed that romance would interfere with his mission. He once said, "I do not think you can name many great inventions that have been made by married men." Tesla channeled every ounce of emotional energy into his imagination. He worked 20 hours a day, slept only 2, and dreamed up inventions decades ahead of his time. He didn't waste energy chasing pleasure. He focused all of it on creation. The result? The electric age, wireless communication, alternating current, all born from a man who mastered the art of sex transmutation. The subconscious mind, the gateway to infinite intelligence. Napoleon Hill's quote, "The subconscious mind will translate into its physical equivalent, by the most direct and practical means available, any desire that is held in the mind with persistence and faith." Your subconscious mind is a servant with no filter. It does not judge. It does not question. It simply acts based on what you repeatedly feed it. If you tell it, "I'm broke, I'm unlucky, I can't win," it obeys. But if you say, "I am wealthy, I am focused, I am worthy," it also obeys. This is not magic. It is mental programming, and your subconscious controls 95% of your actions. What you plant there grows in your reality. Most people try to change their life consciously, but their subconscious still holds old patterns, old fears, old identities. That's why they self-sabotage. They start strong but fall back. Because the roots are still poisoned. Hill teaches, you must retrain your subconscious. How? Repetition. Emotion. Visualization. Autosuggestion. Every time you affirm wealth, power, and purpose with passion, you're building new mental roads in your subconscious. Soon these roads become highways and your actions begin to align. You don't force change. You become change from within. Jim Carrey. Writing his future into reality in 1990, Jim Carrey was broke. Sleeping in his car. Struggling to make it as a comedian. One night, he drove up to Mulholland Drive in Los Angeles, looked over the city, and wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered, dated 1995. Every night he visualized receiving it. He said, "I would imagine directors saying, 'We love your work.' I would feel it until it was real." In 1994 he was cast in Dumb and Dumber. His paycheck? $10 million. He didn't beg for success. He programmed his subconscious to accept it. The sixth sense, the door to infinite intelligence. Napoleon Hill's quote, "The sixth sense is that portion of the subconscious mind which has been referred to as the creative imagination. It is the receiving set, through which ideas, plans, and thoughts flash into the mind. The sixth sense is not something you force. It's something that awakens after mastering the other 12 principles. It's your connection to infinite intelligence, a direct line to insights, warnings, and opportunities that logic alone can't explain. When developed, this intuitive faculty helps you avoid disasters, make brilliant decisions, sense timing, feel direction, attract unseen forces of support. It's the final, invisible force that separates ordinary success from extraordinary, almost supernatural achievement. You felt it before, that gut feeling, the voice that told you, do it, or don't, the hunch that turned out to be right. That's the whisper of your sixth sense. Most ignore it. But the most successful people learn to trust it, cultivate it, and align their life to it. Hill believed this sense comes from living in harmony with your purpose, your values, and your desires. When your mind is clear, your subconscious trained, and your emotions under control, this sense begins to activate. It's not magic. It's mental refinement. Like tuning a radio to the perfect frequency, you begin to receive ideas and warnings with clarity and speed. That's why Hill said, this principle can be understood only by those who are ready for it. It's the final leap. From ambition to alignment with something greater. Steve Jobs and the power of intuition. Steve Jobs famously said, "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become." Jobs didn't invent much technology himself, but his intuitive vision led him to revolutionize music, phones, and design. He believed in sensing the future, trusting what felt right before the data confirmed it. From the iPod to the iPhone, every leap came not from spreadsheets, but from a quiet, inner knowing. He meditated, walked in silence, and protected his intuition. That's how he stayed ahead of the world. Your sixth sense can do the same for you, but only if you learn to hear it, trust it, and act on it. If this video awakens something in you, don't let that feeling fade. Save this video. Watch it again. More importantly, act. Every second you wait, someone else is building your dream. You have 90 days to change your life starting now. Hit that subscribe button, because the next video might be the one that unlocks your breakthrough. And if this helped you, share it, because someone out there is lost, broke, and one video away from hope. Subscribe. Comment your plan. And remember, if you don't build your dream, you'll be hired to build someone else's.